Hello Accounting 1A students, welcome to our Summer 2020 class. As with any college class, the syllabus is both a sort of guide to the rules of the game as well as a contract between you and me, the instructor. It provides much of the information needed to approach the class as well as what determines your final grade. Specifically for this class, I set up the syllabus with several sections that are indicated by the orange headings. I will briefly move through each of these sections, mostly just highlighting certain points. Given that we want to keep the video to a manageable time, I will not cover all aspects of the syllabus. I say that since I want to emphasize that you will still need to thoroughly read the syllabus on your own, making sure you understand what are the requirements and expectations for both you and me. As you review, write down any questions or concerns that you may have and post them under the appropriate discussion threads, such as the orientation or my virtual office hours discussion threads under Module 0 in Modules in our Canvas course site. Note that this is a 5-unit class, meaning that the design of the class is for 5 hours of instruction per week within a regular 12-week course. Now that is doubled in a shortened version of this class, such as late start courses that usually run for 6 weeks. That means that 10 hours of instruction is designed for this class. For each hour of instruction, 2 hours is the rule of thumb for reading, homework, testing, discussions, etc. This class then requires that you carve out approximately 30 hours per week. Now, fortunately, given that we have some savings from the focused approach, I will actually recommend that you have at least 20 to 25 hours per week set aside at a minimum for this class. In the instructor information section, I will only mention that my office hours are essentially only via the discussion threads in modules and or via Zoom by appointment. With respect to course description and learning objectives, I will leave this section for your own review. The course outline topics section shows a sequence and coverage of each part of the course. Part 1 covers the first 3 chapters, culminating in midterm number 1. Part 2 covers the next 3 chapters 4 through 6, culminating in midterm number 2. And then Part 3 covers the remaining chapters for this class, chapters 7 through 9, culminating in the final exam. Note that the final exam is comprehensive, meaning that it has questions from all parts. Also note that there's usually a team project or paper in my regular quarter courses, but that is not applicable to my short version courses. More detail on these and other assignments below. This section also shows the coursework available in our accounting program. I include here to provide you with a full overview of where you can continue if you're interested in learning more about this field. The course type, Canvas, and my accounting lab or MAL section. Note that my accounting lab is also sometimes abbreviated as MAL or My Lab. Our class is designated as fully online. We have no face-to-face meetings. All work that relates to this class is conducted virtually within Canvas, the college's course management system. In many of our accounting courses at Foothill, we also bundle the textbook publisher's website that we call My Lab. It offers a variety of resources to learn the material and for testing. Now more about My Lab and about registering into it in a separate part of the orientation. The textbook section provides the information to purchase the text and the bundled My Lab access code. You have 2 options. Option A includes an ebook version of the textbook and the My Lab access code. Option B includes the same as option A, plus a printed version of the book. You can order the bundle from our college bookstore online. In all cases, whether you already purchased the textbook bundle before or will soon do so, you will receive an email from a company called Red Shelf a few days, usually the Friday prior to the quarter beginning, giving you the instructions as to how to register into the correct MyLab section for our class. You will do so within Canvas, actually. Make sure to check your email, the one you used to enroll at Foothill, to locate that email and follow their instructions. A handout is also provided in the syllabus for this purpose. This MyLab registration process runs smoothly for mostly everyone, but for those few that will need more help, no worries. We will get everybody on board by the end of the week. More on this process in another part of the orientation. The course communication section explains the different modes of communication between you, your classmates, and me, your instructor. Announcements, for example, are my messages to the whole class, usually regarding deadlines, general responses to questions from the discussion threads, career info, current events, and most importantly, updates or changes to assignments, tests, etc. So always make sure to read all of my announcements on each login. A different mode of communication relates to the discussion on chapter topics. I set up several discussion threads, some regular and others as voice threads, for each chapter that you can use to both earn your class participation grade, but also more importantly, to ask questions and provide others with your own insights regarding questions related to chapter reading, homework, maybe the test, etc. This section also covers communicating via the inbox, virtual office hours, etc. Please review these parts on your own. Also, within this same section, you will read that the general turnaround response time is 24 to 48 hours when responding to your questions in the inbox or in the discussion threads. However, I am usually much more responsive than that standard. I scan my inbox and respond to your private messages at least twice a day. I also scan and respond to your chapter discussion thread postings at least once per day. At times, I do respond to the discussion threads postings via an announcement instead of replying to each individually. Note that I will like your posting after I read each. Lastly, with respect to this section, I will ask you to always remember that the class runs from Monday at 8 a.m. through Friday at noon. Officially, I am not in the class online starting from Friday at noon through the following Monday at 8 a.m. I reserve the weekends for grading and setting up the materials for the following week. At times, depending on the urgency, I may still come into the class on weekends, but please do not rely on this being the case. The implication is that you can still work and submit assignments over the weekend, but if you need feedback or help, you will want to do much of your reading and homework as early as possible in the week. I will definitely respond to your inbox messages and most of your chapter discussion questions that are posted by Friday at noon. The course assignments section provides detail on each of the types of assignments in this class. Note that at times, I don't always assign all of them, but do review each description in any case. The grading component section that follows will show which assignments are actually assigned for your class and the weighted points for each. The graded component section shows 7 types of assignments. The first ones are labeled CAs or class activities. They are the orientation tasks that are assigned a 0 weighted score, but that are required to stay in the class. The CIs are the check-ins. At times they're also called attendance or ATs. Either way, they're 2% of the total grade. I use them to simply get you into our class Canvas shell at least once early in the week. They take about 5 seconds and are due on Tuesday of each week. Similarly, class participation, CPs, postings, are my way to get you into the chapter discussion threads at least once per week per chapter. They're also extremely simple. Just post a question or respond to anyone else's question once in any of the current week's chapter discussion threads. the CP is weighted at 9% of your total grade. Reading checks are simple quizzes to check that you have done a minimum amount of reading early in the week from our textbook for each chapter. Each RC is worth 1%, so the total possible for all RCs is therefore 8%, calculated as 8 reading checks that count at 1% each. Note that the lowest one reading check is automatically dropped. Homework checks are problem-solving assignments to check that you have done a minimum amount of practice solving problems for each chapter. Each homework is worth 3%. Total possible for homeworks is therefore 21%. 7 of 9 count at 3% each. Note that the lowest 2 will be automatically dropped. There are also 3 exams, 2 midterms at 15% each, and the final exam at 30%. Finally, with respect to the graded components, I will mention that the RCs and homework assignments are unlimited time and effectively unlimited takes, and that there will be practice midterm exams that are essentially the same as the actual graded midterm exams. So there's no reason why each person could not maximize their scores for most of the graded components. For this reason, there's no extra credit planned for this class, but once in a while I may still announce an extra credit opportunity. Moving forward in this syllabus overview, I will ask you to review the following parts of the syllabus on your own, including the grading scale, other course policies, and the additional resource sections. Pay special attention to the withdrawal and drop deadlines, as well as the late assignments policy. The class calendar shows that the class is organized by week, using Monday of each week as the starting point. Within each week, the class calendar shows what is covered and the deliverables that are due and when. The time deadline is always 11:59 p.m., right before midnight, unless otherwise announced. Note, for example, that in week 1, the orientation tasks are due by Wednesday, including your bio orientation task, which in this week will also serve as your first check-in. Note also that as soon as you are done with your orientation tasks, you should begin your chapter work, which in this case it means chapter 1. Its reading check, or RC1, is due also by Wednesday. I may extend the date depending on the number and the timing of our late additions to the class. Now, the related homework 1 is due on Sunday. A similar approach will follow for weeks 2, 3, 4, and so on. There are 2 final sections, the important notes and declaration statement sections. Please review those on your own, especially the parts regarding the bump-ups and student responsibilities. One very final point. Note that at the very bottom of the syllabus page in Canvas, there is a section labeled Course Summary that reflects dates, assignments, and due dates. These are automatically generated by Canvas. Please do not rely on these due dates in this part of the syllabus. Although they are about 90% accurate, at times they are not for a variety of reasons. Instead, do rely on the class calendar. It is the one document that controls all due dates, unless otherwise announced via announcements. Thanks for taking the time to view and listen to this syllabus overview. As mentioned above, please do review the full syllabus on your own. If you have any questions, post them in the orientation discussion thread under Module 0.